Alright, check this out. Middle Manager Tonegawa, a spin-off manga to the popular gambling series Kaiji, is getting an anime very soon, and I want to use the first chapter as an example to guide you through the aesthetics of the author Nobuyuki Fukumoto. Right on page 1 is Mr. Tonegawa himself, and it's a quintessential Fukumoto character design. Large but beady eyes, a fully drawn set of teeth, giant pointy chin and giant pointy nose, protruding forehead and eyebrows, and hair that goes straight down to the back of his neck. His hand is unusually detailed with fingernails and knuckles, and his suit is drawn with very uniform straight lines. And every character in Fukumoto's manga share at least 2 or 3 of these elements. Each quirk of the design is simple, yet even if Tonegawa wasn't a main character, this art style is iconic. Nothing else comes close to resembling it. It may look strange and even grotesque, but it reflects the ugliness of the characters, and the harsh, corrupt environment that they operate in. Over the course of the chapter, Tonegawa shows off a range of emotions that demonstrates the design's versatility. Each expression is active, urgent, invested. All of them, down to the neutral face, has some degree of intensity to it. They're all exaggerated. There's no subtext in his expressions. He and many other characters wear their emotions on their sleeve, unless they happen to have a really good poker face. Yet the designs remain consistent. They're simple enough to convey all the emotions without resorting to a simpler chibi art style. These are the 2 points that make up Fukumoto's aesthetic: simple and exaggerated. The first panel is a declaration that takes up the whole page. He does this a lot in individual panels too, but this also embodies his style of writing. His characters exclaim more than they talk. Very blunt, simple, matter-of-fact statements that don't try to hold any subtlety or nuance. We get a speech from company president Hyodo about being bored with media and what he thinks it means to be human. More important than what he says, take a look at the way he phrases it. Fukumoto shows nuance much differently. Yes, there's lots of exclamations, but we also have lots of repeating and redundancy. This is one likely cause to why Fukumoto's manga are all so long. He relishes in wordplay and marinates in the present moment. Phrasing the thought in multiple ways gives the thought dimension and, yes, nuance, even when every word is meant to be taken at face value. Other times it'll just be the same word repeated 5 or 6 times. It burns the word into the reader's heads, so not only are his designs simple and exaggerated, his writing is as well. Next page we have our setting, and this shows exactly the type of setting Fukumoto always uses. Very normal, realistic locations. Notice the setting isn't in some distinct art style like his character designs. This is important, because the setting grounds these characters in reality, so it's not like this is taking place in some bizarre, evil, alternate universe. However, it's not all simple backgrounds. Fukumoto also makes great use of particle backgrounds. These may not look all too special. Its application is key. Electric sparks and swampy darkness exaggerate the characters' charged or murky emotions. They double down on these in the anime, with lightning flashes and saturated washes of color. This is another element of Fukumoto's manga being both simple and exaggerated. Soon after, we get our first case of narration. While it seems at first to be a simple case of info dumping, that's not altogether true. All the info we get here can be easily inferred without the narrator telling us. We can see the president is tyrannical from the very first panel, but the narrator brings it up anyway, so why have it? The easiest answer is to point to the narrator of the anime, who I'm willing to bet will be the same for Tonegawa.
Kaiji Sotto! 地の底の底の底でも借金地獄突入道は開かれるのか悔しい悔しい悔しい悔しい悔しい悔しいだがこれでいい
This isn't a narrator, it's a hype man. This third-person presence is so invested in the story that he also helps to exaggerate the situation. Simply saying the president is tyrannical, even while we can technically infer that visually, gives the reader that word to connect him to. He's tyrannical! This is the story of Tonegawa Yukio's hardships and agony. May seem simple to say, but it's meant for emphasis and exaggeration. This is the story of Tonegawa Yukio's hardships and agony. Next page, Zawa, 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 right across the panel. This is Fukumoto's signature onomatopoeia for tension. Again, I can't properly explain this without examples from the anime. I don't honestly know of another show that does this. Not even JoJo has a dedicated sound effect for its sound effect. Zawa dramatizes the moment visually and sonically, indicating pressure and unease. It's a simple tool found in most manga, but again, its application is exaggerated. Okay, so skipping halfway into this chapter, everyone is introducing themselves to each other, and Tonegawa is learning each of their names. Pretty simple setup. But suddenly, this exchange of learning everyone's name transforms into an exaggerated thriller, dripping with tension. How does that happen? It starts right here, where Tonegawa senses something is up with this guy's name before the reader. This is establishing there's tension for the character, but since his reason for tension is a mystery to the reader, we find ourselves tense along with him. Shortly after, the narrator explains that Tonegawa's relationship with the Black Suits is absolutely essential, and that he cannot lose their trust. It becomes a game. We see Tonegawa brace himself for the next name, and celebrates when he gets an easy name to remember, and we in turn revel at the character's successes and failures. Finally, we come to an example of one of the last cornerstones of Fukumoto's aesthetic. Tonegawa feels a chill run down his spine, when all of a sudden, next panel, Tonegawa has a boa constrictor around his neck! Of course, this isn't literally happening to him. It's a metaphor of the eerie premonition that slithers down his back. These metaphors are everywhere, and are always shown to the reader, not just told. Sometimes it's almost like they blend together with reality, becoming waking nightmares. They're not only creative, but can be downright elaborate. There's a 10-chapter arc in Akagi that depicts a character going to hell and fighting his way out of hell to demonstrate his indestructible will to live. A 10-chapter tangent that almost feels like it's actually happening, but is simply a dramatization. This isn't even his most clever. There are recurring metaphors, like when this character is constantly being haunted by king cards. There are metaphors that evolve to match the changes of the situation, like this one where the character is running out of options, like the tide is coming in, but a twist in the game is like a helicopter coming in to rescue him. And here in this chapter, the big payoff joke is Tonegawa using the character's redundant choice of hobby, bowling, to roast them into having simpler names, saying all their names are gutter balls. Using and even visually presenting each metaphor is simple, but it's Fukumoto's investment in them that makes it exaggerated. Condensed into 2 words, Fukumoto's aesthetic is simple and exaggerated. It's very easy to follow and understand, even if you don't know how to play Mahjong. But the content is energized and tightly wound to 11. Even if the story is mundane and ordinary like Strongest Man Kurosawa, which you should definitely read that one. As a result, his stories are both gripping and accessible. Hopefully accessible enough that you'll check out the Tonegawa anime coming out this year, as well as Fukumoto's other manga. Like any aesthetic, it isn't for everyone, but I wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah!
Thank you so much for stopping by. If you're digging the aesthetics of this channel, I hope you subscribe and stick around for more. Thank you to my wonderful patrons making this video possible, including Beamburst, Cam, Eardan, Jay, Lars Souffle, and Tengoon. Thank you everyone so much for watching and supporting. I'll see you guys again soon.